Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Barn Talk. I'm Glenn Kennedy. This is my co-host, Charles Mutz.
Glad to be here.
How you doing today, Charles?
Real good. It's a nice day out. It's just a nice day in California. The sun's out today.
It is. So, last night the fair opened, and I'd like to talk about the fair.
Okay.
So, I do know that the fair is about the same age as West Covina. I think it's one year older. I think it started in 1922. And so, Charles, tell me, back in the early years, what was West Covina's involvement with the fair?
They were involved with taking their crops basically to the fair and showing them and trying to get recognized as a blue ribbon or a second wonderful crop that we would raise here. And Covina did the same thing. So if you raised oranges, you took your oranges. We always took our walnuts, and you were only allowed to take one sack of walnuts, and it had to be in hemp bound. The sack had to be made out of hemp because it kept the bugs out. Maybe the bugs knew something we didn't know. But then the fair would take those walnuts and put them on display and judge your walnuts. Covina brought their citrus, which was wonderful. And then Covina had a future farmer group in the school itself. And the students would take things to the fair to be judged. Like if you had rabbits, you could take your rabbits or you could take your goats. In the homemaking, they took things they made, such as shirts or knitting or garments, and they would show them at the fair. And that was very important to the people in the community. The fair was a very positive thing. Most people don't realize it, but when they started the fair, Pomona almost shut down completely because so many people worked at the fair. And we enjoyed the fair because you could show your things. And then as time went on, we had the 4-H, which started over here in Sunkist Village as that was developed. And those people had rabbits, chickens, and small animals, guinea pigs, and a lot of them would raise different crops, like who could raise the largest pumpkin or the most beautiful tomato, and they would show them, and some would do bees, their honey, and different garments they made. So everybody just kind of went to the fair and enjoyed it very much. And especially, it started way back at the turn of this, when the fair first opened.
Yeah.
People would go.
So the small animals, tell us about that on the properties here.
Most of the walnuts orchards and other orchards, they would save or have a little parcel that they would save for people to raise their crops and their animals and chickens and different the things they'd want to eat. Goats were very popular because for milk. They wouldn't take up large pieces of property for the animals or the gardens because the walnuts and the citrus the land was so valuable that the trees, they wanted to plant as many trees as they could. And as a walnut tree would die, that would also provide a little pasture or something. They would not replant that.
Tell us why.
Because the tree that they planted would never do well because the big trees would suck all the nourishment out of the soil.
Oh, interesting.
And if you planted in an orchard and you had like 4% of your trees die, that 4%, you'd have 4% less crop on that property because even if you replanted it the same year, it would never overcome that. The other trees were taking all that nourishment right out of the soil. Okay. That time.
So, and the 4-H club, I've heard about that. What about the big rabbit farmer here?
Oh, we had a rabbit farmer over here in Sunset Village, and he was an outstanding rabbit grower. He had champion rabbits, and when he harvested his rabbits for food, he would save the feet, and he'd clean those feet, and they put little cups on them and then put a chain on them, and that was to be put on your key ring for lucky.
Good luck charm. Yes.
Yeah, and he, I guess, shipped them all over the world. He was quite large over there.
Wow, that's very
Yeah,
interesting.
and he was a very nice man. He would, the people over there would buy some of his rabbits and raise them and show them at the county fair. You know, the fair is opening up earlier this year for the second
Yeah,
time.
because I think because they redid it because of COVID.
I think so.
No, was it like that during World War II? How was that?
No, the fair opened up basically after August.
Okay.
Right during the heat of the,
Yeah,
during our
hottest month of the year, right?
hottest month. And we would go over there, my brother and I, and other people,
Excuse me.
and we would buy a baby pig. A lot of people raise the pigs or animals, goats and sheep, especially some sheep. I bought a sheep once. And so you could buy it and raise it during the winter and then harvest it in the spring. And my brother and I'd buy 2 red pigs, and we'd have bacon all the time after that. So that's what we did. And they bring fine animals there. And right over here by the dam on Arrow Highway, there was a man who had champion goats. He had Nubian goats, and we were over there one time looking at some goats to show baby goats. They were real. They call them kids, and we were going to buy a kid, you might say, or baby goat for the fair and groom it and get it all ready. And he had one there, a goat that was the ugliest goat I'd ever seen in my life, and he offered it to us for $20. So we bought it. We named it Alice, and it produced some of the grand champion Nubian goats. It was black with white ears, and if I run into some of my classmates, they ask me always about Alice. They couldn't believe it. she didn't turn out very pretty, and he had to get it off his property. And then over here at Sunset Village, I remember Marcia Moninger had some champion rabbits, and I think she had a goose or a geese, maybe it was a duck who kept winning championships at the fair.
Interesting.
You know, the fair was kind of where you all went and had a good time, but we didn't have big animals on this property because it took up too much land.
Exactly. So I know. What about the Arabian horses? I know the Vanderhoofs over there where McIntyre Square is today. They raised a world champion Arabian horses. There was also another farm. Where was that at, Charles?
That was right there where the city yard was. And that was the Dowford boys, Mr. and Mrs. Dowford. And she had 2 sons. One became a veterinarian and one became a biology teacher at Mount Sac. And they raised championship Arabian horses. By the way, they had the first television on Sunset Avenue, and they had a big magnifying glass in front of it so you could see it. And all the kids lived around the area used to go watch Time for Beanie. You remember that story?
No, I don't. That's before my time.
But the C6 Sea Serpent. And Joey Hurst had a steer. He raised a steer, and it got some ribbons too, I believe. But I know Jack Larson had one over here in Sunset Village. He raised the steer over on California Street. And he got a lot of ribbons for it. It was really nice.
Pretty interesting.
But the future farmers at Covina really was involved in our 4-H and our future farmers and the fair.
Now, the Covina Citrus Association, which is Covina and West Covina, they center the fair. I know that like people like Vern Jobs, Joe Hurst, Howard Hawkins, these were all presidents of that association for many, many years. What type of oranges did they raise, Charles?
Well, they had juice oranges here, basically.
Okay.
The navels were about half as many. Orange County seemed to dominate the navel oranges.
Okay.
And Valencias were our juice oranges.
Yes.
And that's why they have Vitapack up there and Sunkist right up in Covina, because the juices were so good. And that was due to our soil and our weather.
Okay. So what is the difference between West Covina and say Irvine and Orange and Santa Ana, where they produce those oranges out there? Is it the soil? Is it the weather? What is it, Charles?
It's a little bit of the soil, but I think it's the weather down there as much as anything. And their water wasn't as good as ours.
Okay.
And we had good soil here. And you know, people say I buy tomato plants and plant them in my yard in West Covina, and they have such wonderful taste to them. That's due to the soil conditions here in West Covina. Soil makes a big difference of how the orange or the walnuts or everything is developed.
So it tastes better because you have better soil.
Better soil.
Because I remember once I ate a strawberry and it really had no taste to it.
Yeah, that's true. You could buy those even today, and they have no taste. You remember the strawberry patch down on Sunset and Merced?
Yes, I do.
His strawberries were so sweet and so great that they would pick them one day, take them down that evening, put them on an airplane, and ship them all over the world because they had the good soil, the good water, and he had the right climate, and he also knew what he was doing. But that makes a big difference. See, they always thought we could raise our oranges and walnuts in the desert as this was going to be developed, like in Apple Valley and areas. The government would say, well, we're going to lose West Covina for the oranges or the walnuts or the cauliflower. No, that's not true. You have to have good land, you have to have good water, and you have to have the right conditions. And it's hard to replace good land, that's for sure, with the good soil.
Okay.
And so when you buy a tomato plant and put it in the ground in West Covina, you're going to have a tasty tomato. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
That's for sure.
So we in our garden, all the vegetables and the corn, everything comes up here. It's fantastic.
Fantastic.
It's great tasting. People should come down and get some one of these days.
Yes, yes.
We always have beans and squash and cucumbers or something here for the public. In fact, out here in front of Hearst Ranch, we have how many orange trees?
Oh, we must
At least
have a couple dozens.
Yeah.
Don't they
At least
do
15
great?
orange trees, and we have a lemon tree. We have a grapefruit tree, and it's for the public.
Yeah.
We public come down anytime and pick a few. Not all,
No.
but pick a few. That's what it's there for.
And
It's
I
for
bet
the community.
Yeah. I bet if you get here before the 4th of July, you'll have some corn. Take
Sure.
home. Sure.
Yeah, if you come before
Yeah.
4th of July, absolutely.
Yeah. And it is good corn, isn't it?
Yes,
Just
yes, it
delicious.
is.
Yeah.
So, we had a question on our Facebook page, or sent to me, and person asked, "What was the first brick and mortar business in West Covina?" And because everybody was a farmer, so they were all in business for
Sure.
themselves. So, but the first store or business was it was a blacksmith shop and a country store, and it sat here on Orange, in between Merced and Cameron.
Okay.
And Cloris Renicky told me that, and it was probably in the 20s or 30s, and because I know you don't remember it.
I don't remember. That was before my
Yeah,
time.
I actually never heard of it.
Yeah.
But she remembers it. I think it was the Neely family. No, Neely was he was the mayor of West Covina at one time,
Yes.
and I think it was their store. I'm not positive, but that's what she had told me.
Sure. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think I know Corliss knows because
Well, yeah,
remember
she's
talked
the old, she's
yeah.
the last of the Mohicans,
Yeah, that's
you
right.
and her,
Yeah,
and
well,
and Bacon Sakatani and Ted Hamachi.
yeah.
You guys are the last of the dying breed.
That's right. We've outdone them all, right?
Yes.
if we known we did this good, we'd take better care of ourselves, I guess.
So with that, I'd like to say thank you for watching. You have a nice day, and we'll see you at the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye now.